People around the world are sick and tired of travelers behaving badly. It's called Indian fatigue. And no, it's not some medical condition. It's the very real frustration you see across countries when travelers step off the plane and forget basic civic sense. We're talking about loud phone calls on speaker in the middle of public transport, blasting music from their phones like the whole carriage asked for a live DJ. And yes, eating dripping curries and spicy samosas inside buses and subways like it's a private dining room. If that wasn't enough, there's the infamous supermarket behavior, grabbing items, tossing them around, and leaving them anywhere except the shelf they came from. Clothes dumped on the floor, food shoved in the wrong aisles, and shopping trolleys abandoned midway. It's messy, inconsiderate, and it's become a meme at this point. And what's more, bare feet on public transport seats. You'll find endless photos online of Indian travelers casually propping their feet up on trains in London, Toronto, Melbourne, you name it. Imagine sitting down for your morning commute and realizing you're practically brushing against someone's toenails. That's not cultural difference. That's just bad manners. But here's the thing. This isn't an isolated incident here or there. This is a pattern, and the world has noticed. From Bali to Dubai, from Singapore to Switzerland, the phrase Indian tourists has started carrying the same kind of warning bells that loud American used to. People expect noise, trash, and a total disregard for local etiquette. And in 2025, when everyone has a phone camera, this behavior doesn't just annoy locals. It goes viral. Scroll TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or Instagram Reels, and you'll see it all. Indians screaming at flight attendants. Indians leaving behind piles of litter at tourist spots. Indians forming human traffic jams on sidewalks by walking 5 abreast and refusing to move. And of course, Indians shouting into their phones on speaker mode while the entire train carriage suffers. These clips rack up millions of views, and like it or not, they fuel the stereotype. The world doesn't see one rude traveler, they see Indians abroad. Now, to be fair, it's not like other nationalities don't act up. Americans got roasted for decades as loud and entitled tourists. The British are still mocked for going abroad just to get drunk and sunburnt. The Chinese, too, have faced criticism for their own tourist behavior. But here's the difference. Most of those groups eventually recognized the problem and tried to fix it. China literally launched public awareness campaigns urging its citizens to be better behaved abroad. Meanwhile, Indians, many double down, brush off criticism as racist, and keep on doing the same thing. Let's look at some real-world reactions. In Thailand, local businesses and influencers have openly mocked Indian tourists for being disruptive, with one viral clip showing a group blocking a street while blasting music from portable speakers. In Bali, shop owners have complained that Indian visitors haggle aggressively, throw trash around, and ignore temple rules. In Canada, which has seen a massive influx of Indian students and immigrants, neighborhoods are now voicing frustration about littering, noise, and a lack of basic integration. And this goes beyond just being annoying. When large groups of Indian immigrants cluster abroad, the perception grows that they refuse to adapt to local culture. Walk through certain areas in the UK or Australia, and you'll see Indian-only shops, Indian-only services, and little effort to blend into the wider community. Now, on the one hand, cultural pride is fine. Every community preserves its roots abroad. But when locals feel like their country is being carved up into little Indias, where the basic norms of queuing, hygiene, and public order don't apply, that's where the resentment builds. That's where Indian fatigue sets in. What's sad is that it doesn't have to be this way. Indians who behave respectfully, who integrate, who work hard and contribute positively, they exist, and in huge numbers. But their reputation gets destroyed by the loud minority. Think about it. One Indian family leaves trash at a Swiss picnic spot, and suddenly the internet decides Indians are dirty tourists. 100 polite, respectful Indian travelers won't make headlines, but one messy video will. It's unfair, yes, but that's how global perception works. And it's not just the West noticing, even countries closer to India are fed up. Singapore's malls are notorious for putting up extra signs and security just to keep order when large Indian groups come through. In the Middle East, where many Indians work, There are frequent complaints about poor public hygiene and lack of respect for local customs. Even in neighboring Nepal, local businesses have protested the behavior of Indian visitors. When your closest neighbors are tired of you, you know it's not just cultural misunderstanding. Now, defenders of this behavior will argue it's just a few bad apples. And yes, technically, it always is. But when a few bad apples keep popping up in every country, every week, on every social media platform, it doesn't feel like a minority anymore. It feels like a pattern, and people are getting sick of it. That's why the term Indian fatigue exists in the first place. Let's be brutally honest here. This all boils down to a lack of civic sense. Things like cleaning up after yourself, keeping your voice down in public, not blasting your phone speaker in a crowded bus, respecting queues, and not turning public transport into your private living room with bare feet and curry bowls. These aren't complicated. These are the basics of living in a shared society. And yet, time and again, Indian tourists and immigrants abroad seem to ignore them. Why? Part of it might be habits carried over from home. India itself struggles with littering, public hygiene, and overcrowding. When you come from an environment where spitting on the street or throwing trash out the window is normalized, you might carry that behavior abroad. But here's the thing, once you're in another country, you can't just say, oh well, that's how we do it back home. You have to adapt, you have to respect local norms. Otherwise, you become the walking stereotype everyone mocks. Of course, not all Indians abroad act this way. Plenty of them are polite, respectful, and eager to adapt. They work hard, they study, they build lives for themselves, and they give back to the communities they live in. But those people rarely go viral on TikTok. Nobody's rushing to upload a video of polite Indian quietly minding his business. The internet rewards chaos, and unfortunately, the bad behavior of a few ends up painting the many. So where does that leave us? If this keeps going unchecked, Indian fatigue will only grow stronger. Countries will tighten their rules, locals will grow colder toward Indian immigrants, and polite, respectful Indians will suffer the backlash caused by their less considerate compatriots. That's the tragedy here. The minority sets the stereotype, and the majority pays the price. The solution isn't complicated. It's about self-awareness and accountability. It's about remembering that when you travel or live abroad, you're not just representing yourself. You're representing your whole country. Every loud phone call, every pile of trash, every bare foot on a train seat doesn't just make you look bad. It makes an entire nationality look bad. And in a world where perception is reality, that matters. If Indians abroad start taking civic sense seriously, respecting public spaces, blending into local norms, showing basic manners, the fatigue will fade. If not, the stereotype will only harden and the resentment will keep growing. So let's be clear. Nobody's saying all Indians are bad tourists, but enough have behaved badly, loudly, and publicly that the world is running out of patience. And until that changes, Indian fatigue will remain a very real global phenomenon. If you want more Straight Talk videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I promise I won't play it on speakerphone in a crowded train.